The South African SME sector is calling for greater state support. This includes improved access to working capital as well as energy and political stability. Head of Information Technology and Chief Financial Officer at Business Partners Ben Bierman speaks to us about this. Thank you so much for your time, Ben. Now that we've heard from the State of the Nation address with regards to the President's plan, we are heading towards elections. What exactly is the SME industry calling for around support?
Good morning, Tumisang. I think that generally the SME industry is hoping for a bit of stability. I think it refers to stability in power supply, stability in terms of policy direction. And I think if one looks at the broader South African environment, the key issue here is all business owners want to know what the future holds so that they can plan, capacitate their businesses and start growing I think their own business, but also maybe increasing their employment. So in a nutshell, I think the biggest expectation and the biggest hope from business in general is that there's more certainty around a fairly uncertain period in South Africa's history as we move to elections, as you pointed out.
Having said that, sustainability that you are looking for in the economic climate has not existed in South Africa for over a decade. What would change, particularly in the year of 2024, and maybe how South Africa then decides on a political leadership?
Yeah, I think we can anticipate some green shoots sort of appearing in the economy as we look forward to the rest of the year. There are some clear indications that we might see a lowering of the interest rates. I think Standard Bank announced yesterday or the day before that they anticipate about a 1 percentage point interest rate reduction for the next year. And as we move towards maybe a new government or a new certainty after the election, I think the policy certainty and perhaps the biggest thing that has crippled us for the last year, and there are also, again, some indications that it might be better this year, is the intermittent power supply or the problems we've had with electricity. The massive installed base in renewable energy would have an impact, we believe, in terms of lowering the levels of load shedding, and there are some constructive and positive indications as to how Eskom is improving their electricity production. But I think those two are the key trends looking forward towards the next year that we can anticipate some improvement on.
Given the challenges in electricity that you reference, Ben, the near-term outlook for the SME sector in this country for 2024, what is it?
I think the current, you need to recall that, or we need to emphasize that if you think about an SME, they have primarily three customers, or three groups of customers rather. I think government is an incredibly important stakeholder, and especially if one looks at the infrastructure investment plans. But then corporate, big businesses are also an important stakeholder group within SMEs. And then the consumer forms the third and the largest group of clients or customers that the SMEs need to service. So if one needs to think about or assess how SMEs might be doing in the next year, I think in all three of those groups, there are some constraints. I think the increased energy prices and consumer spending has been under pressure for quite a while. But as things start to fall and we move into a higher level of economic growth, one could expect that big business would be doing better. The infrastructure rollout and investment in fixing South Africa rather, as well as improved consumer spending, would all be positive indicators for SMEs looking forward. But I think it's also important to note that the SME sector is often seen as a homogeneous group. All of them are the same, but they are not. And some SMEs actually have lots of opportunities within the context of the South African environment. And it's important that they receive the support to ensure that they can benefit from those opportunities.
Lastly, what's the expectation then from the 2024 national budget that we are expecting later in this month that will be delivered by the Finance Minister?
Yeah, I think if we look forward to what the Minister of Finance might say to us, what we will be looking for, and I think SMEs would be aware of what the fiscal framework will look like, whether there is any room for increasing taxes. I think that the Minister of Finance is in a very difficult position, and don't think there's lots of room for increasing government revenues through additional taxes. But within the broader budget speech, I think the the allocation to fixed capital formation type of investments would be indicative for SMEs in terms of just on two levels, either participating in those specific projects. A lot of our SMEs are actually suppliers or subcontractors to some of the bigger construction or investment companies. And on the second layer, I think it would be also to see what can be done to unlock a bit more economic growth and in that way benefit from an improved environment as we look forward.
Thank you so much for your input. Ben Bierman is with Business Partners Limited talking to us about the SME sector's needs as well as wants with regards to government support for the near-term trajectory of 2024.